You have your report, it just so happens, from Think Progress will be coming out today on the state of conceal and carry laws around the country.
Yeah, we're putting out...
But more and more states have them, correct?
All states now have concealed carry. Now, 4 states don't have any kind of licensing procedure. You can carry a gun in public in a concealed fashion, just as you can carry it inside your home. But 46 states do have some kind of regulation. It's a patchwork of laws throughout the United States. There is a federal floor. There are those 9 broad categories of people who can't ever carry a gun under federal law. So if you've been convicted of a felony, for instance, you can't carry a gun. If you have mental issues, you can't carry a gun.
Well, in theory.
In theory. Well, yes, this is all if these guns are obtained federally.
This guy had mental issues.
This guy had mental issues. It's unclear if they were diagnosed. It's unclear if there were records that could be put into the federal database. So if there are background checks, if there were background checks that he went through, presumably he went to a federally licensed dealer, that a red flag would come up and he would somehow be deterred. Too early to tell in this case. But we're in a situation where there's a patchwork of loose laws, where some states have broadened the category of people who could be prohibited from purchasing a gun, from applying and receiving a concealed carry permit. So, for instance, some states say if you have alcohol abuse problems, if you have some other kind of mental issue that's defined differently. And some states are also may issue states, and this is really key. There are 10 states that empower state agencies, most often police departments, to use their discretion and to deny people concealed carry permits if they feel those individuals aren't eligible and wouldn't carry a gun in a safe way. And so this is where maybe it's applicable here. If this guy had a history of altercations with the police, we talked about those 2 other instances. He had anger issues. Maybe it was possible that if he lived in one of those 10 states, if that's where he got his concealed carry permit, that he would be ineligible from receiving one. We also know that's the case with George Zimmerman in Florida. The rules are very, very, very lax. If he lived in one of the states that was a may issue state, and one of the other 25 states that also prohibit people from carrying guns if they have other spots in their records. Certainly Zimmerman has some history of domestic abuse. He would be then denied a weapon. That weapon would be taken away from him. So, it's really, we got a long way to go. We saw in the last 20 years, through successful NRA efforts, the expansion of gun laws, concealed carry now available everywhere in the United States. And what we've seen are these shootings, this kind of crime, and maybe, just maybe, who knows, this is yet another instance that will push Americans, that will push maybe Congress in some way to talk about changing some of these rules, maybe establishing a federal minimum, expanding the federal minimum, the federal floor, to redefine who is eligible for concealed carry and who can possess these weapons.
Well, Peter, but I certainly believe that that's what Congress ought to be about. And first they ought to be about the renewing the assault weapons ban. But Peter, we had a comment earlier this morning from one of our viewers or one of our listeners who said if we didn't, as I recall, right, if I'm not quoting word for word, but if we didn't do anything after Newtown, Connecticut.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that comment. It was Juliet, right. I remember, that made the comment, but she had said basically if nothing happened then when a bunch of kids were murdered, then why would this be a game changer?
Well, that's right. It's hard to see that there's any momentum. No, you're right. But look, I think every time we as a nation go through this kind of horror, where you go through hours of thinking maybe there's a second shooter, maybe there was a third shooter, is the White House in danger, is the Senate is on lockdown, I think images like this carry a certain message. And as you have more of these instances, I think, public opinion shifts. And Congress people, I think, to the point, have to be, as we saw with Syria, really have to be responsive to their constituents. And I think it gets you closer to talking about changing these laws in a real way.